All right, good morning. We switched the seating around again. A little bit better? Okay. I'm not sitting, but I didn't feel good about last week. Well, good to have you here. I hope, I know we get started somewhat soon, but I really do hope you're making some connections and relationships with each other while you're here. So try to, best you can. That's why we don't have assigned seating. But try to sit with different people each week and get to know other people. I know it's a little awkward, but it's good. So this is Table 45. I say this every week for the benefit of anyone who's new, but table is part of our mission. We make room at the table at this church for all people. It is sometimes challenging because we so badly want to be in a group ourselves, and then once we get in that group, what do we often do? We close it up because we're good. But it's always important to kind of keep room at the table for new relationships and new people coming in because it's helpful. 45 part of it is 45 minutes. That's all we have today, or less than that. So we're in a series. You can see it on your table there. It's called When God Runs Late. It's kind of a play on words of God's never late, but he often seems late to us in various ways. And so we're going to look at 6 different ways over this series of where God seems to be running late in people's lives. Last week we talked about the promise being delayed. The promise was Abraham's promise about he would be a great nation. And obviously the massive delay in that. How many years was that delay, roughly? From Abraham's promise to Abraham's delivery of that promise was about 25 years. Because he was told around 75 he was going to have a baby, and around 100 he had it. So today we're going to look at another delay. And I'm going to look at justice delayed. If there was an opposite side of the coin of justice delayed, what would the opposite side of the coin be? If justice is delayed, what's the opposite side of that? Immediate gratification, immediate justice. I'll use a more common term, maybe a little controversial at church, but instant karma. Have you ever heard of that? You know the concept of karma, right? I don't know if you've ever seen these videos on YouTube or whatever, but they always make me laugh where they have these compilation videos where like someone will cut someone off in traffic, and as soon as they cut them off, they get in a wreck. And we all laugh at that because we're like, good for you, you know? Like, we love instant karma. We love that instant gratification of they got what they deserved, right? Who enjoys seeing that? Yeah, be honest. Okay, we're in church. Let's be honest. Okay. We don't like instant karma when it applies to us, right? We like delayed justice on that one. But so I was thinking about this concept of instant karma versus delayed justice, and I remember a story I heard last year in 2025. There was a thief who broke into a Dodge dealership in Tyler, Texas, and obviously he was trying to go in and steal something, car or whatever. And he got in, he threw a rock into a window, and the window broke, and that's how he entered this Dodge dealership. But when he entered the building through the broken glass, he cut himself pretty badly. So he's in the building, he's cut, he's bleeding, he's trying to control the bleeding, and he's realizing, I need to get out. But he didn't want to go back through the glass that he had broken because he already got cut once. He didn't want to do it again. So he has to find a way out of the building that he's in this Dodge dealership, and he can't find a way out. So his only recourse left was he called 911, and the cops came and they took care of his wound, and then they promptly arrested him because they realized that he wasn't where he was supposed to be. In fact, the cops humorously found that there were numerous doors that night unlocked. He could have gone out and several different doors completely fine. He just didn't know that. And anyway, he got arrested. He did end up stealing. The only thing he stole that night was some candy from one of the salespeople's office. So bad criminal, doesn't know what he's doing. But I love the idea of the instant karma, right? He goes in to steal and then he ends up getting arrested. There's another story I heard not too long ago where a woman, she had just gotten out of jail for vehicle theft. And she's literally out first day or two. She spots a pickup truck that has the keys in there. So she gets in the pickup truck, she starts the truck, and she's trying to like take off with it, and the truck won't move. And she's super frustrated because she's like, why won't this car move? So she abandons the truck. She runs away. The truck then starts to drift because she had kind of tampered with it enough that was in neutral. It starts to drifts down the hill, hits a fire hydrant. Fire hydrant goes off, and immediately police fire called, and they find her not too long later, and they press charges. The issue was that she didn't know how to drive a stick shift. And so the Boulder Police Department jokingly titled their social media post, Stick Shift FTW for the win. And that's how she got caught. So, but why do we like watching these videos? Why do we like hearing these stories? Because we all like instant karma. We like to see like justice was served. Like whatever it was, we like the fact justice was served. They got what they deserved. And this whole series is about, or this whole message today is about justice being delayed. And I want to start with Revelation chapter 6. It's the big passage of scripture on your table there. It seems like an unusual place to start, but if you have it there, I want to start with Revelation chapter 6 because this is an interesting place to look. This is during the opening of the 7 seals of Christ. If you know anything about Revelation, I won't get into it now, but there's 7 seals that Jesus is opening. If you remember, this is John, the Apostle John is on the island of Patmos, and he is receiving a vision of the future from Jesus himself, and he's recording what he sees. So John is seeing into the future, and he sees Jesus opening these 7 seals. The first 4 seals were already released, or already opened, and the first 4 seals were the 4 horsemen, if you know anything about Revelation. If I don't, read it later. It's an interesting book. The 5th seal, though, is what I want to talk about, because the 5th seal reveals something really different. It says, when he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony that they had maintained. They called out in a loud voice, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" Who are these people? They're what? They're persecuted people. They've been killed because, there's 2 things it says. They've been killed because of the word of God and the testimony that they kept, right? Well, there's another word we call these people. Martyrs. They're martyrs, right? You've heard that phrase before. So these people are martyrs. They're killed because they remained faithful to Christ. These are not people who died natural deaths, right? These are people who were all victims of persecution that led to their own death. And they were killed unjustly for their faith. Okay, it's super important to know that. Where are they located in this passage? Under what? Under the altar. That's an odd place to find somebody, isn't it? Under the altar. What altar is it? What do you think? Apparently there's an altar in heaven. This altar, it has the imagery of an altar of sacrifice. If you know the New Testament system, they had an altar, right? What did they do on the altar? They'd sacrifice an animal, right? Well, in Leviticus chapter 4, it tells us that in the temple, the blood of the sacrifices on the altar were poured at the base of the altar. That's where the blood would eventually end up, is the base of the altar. So go back to Revelation chapter 6. John is seeing into the future. He sees an altar. Jesus just opened the 5th seal, and he sees under the altar martyrs, which indicates what? Their blood is there. And it's kind of this picture that their lives were poured out in a faithful sacrifice of sorts. Notice what they're saying. Well, let me ask you this. What are they not saying? What are the martyrs not saying in this passage? It's a different way to look at it. But they're not saying something like, why did we have to suffer, right? They're not saying things like, why did we have to die? They're not saying, why did God let this happen? I mean, these would be obvious things that we might say, right, on this side of the earth. But they're not saying that on that side. They're not even saying, can we come back? What are they saying?
How are we going to get even?
How are we going to get even? Yeah. If you could summarize their prayer in 2 words, how would you summarize it? What's the paper say? How long? How long? They're asking a question. They're like, how long until what? Justice is served. That's what they want to know. And where are they located? Under the altar. But more generically, where are they located? They're in heaven, right? And they're asking this question from heaven. And where has justice not been served? On earth. Anyone relate to that? Do we live in a place where justice is not served in the time that we'd like it? They're in heaven and they're looking back and they're going, how long? We're under this altar. How long until justice is served? Joseph is a guy in the Bible that I want to look at today because we find that he's going to be asking this question probably over and over and over again in his life. How long? If you know Joseph, if you know the story, the history of Israel, Abraham had 2 sons. Last week we talked about Ishmael, and Isaac, right? Okay. Isaac had 2 sons. They were Jacob and Esau, right? I'm not trying to trick you. Jacob had how many sons? Anyone know? 12 sons, right? And who was Jacob's favorite son? Joseph. Remember the story? He gave him a special jacket, like multicolored robe or whatever. So Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. And Joseph's story has, if you break it up, it has like 8 parts to it. And so I want to talk about those 8 parts because it starts with a dream. Joseph had a dream. Then it talks about Joseph ends up in a pit and he ends up for sale. Another part of his story is that he ends up in Potiphar's house, who is like a major official in Egypt, and he's working for Potiphar. Then there's a false accusation against Joseph. That's another big part of his story. He ends up in prison, and he's forgotten in prison. And then we see there's a part of God's timing in this whole scenario with Joseph. And then we see there's an exaltation where Joseph was really low, and then he ends up really high. And then the last part is how Joseph kind of concludes this whole story of his life, this arc of his life. So that story has 8 different parts. What I'd like you to do is underneath your table piece of the When God Runs Late, underneath there's a small group questions. Your table has a specific highlight. So if you, what does yours say? See it? There we go. Whatever's highlighted, I'd like you to read that passage if you're not familiar with it, and then answer those 2 questions at your table. And then we can go and regroup again as a small group. So, all right, we have the dream over here. So just to summarize the dream, we'll get into your questions for a minute. But Joseph is 17 years old and he has this dream from God. And God gives him actually 2 dreams. In both dreams, his older brothers, think about this. He's the favorite kid, right? The older brothers are going to bow down to him in the future. That's the dream. So how does that go if you're a younger brother saying to your older brother, yeah, I got a great dream God gave me. And also, Mom and Dad, you will too. I mean, does someone have an inflated ego or what? Or God gave him a dream and he's just trying to be faithful to respond to this is what I heard in my dream. Don't, what is where the original phrase, don't shoot the messenger? That's what Joseph's saying. Like, hey, I didn't come up with this. All his dreams point to a future leadership and authority. And his brothers, they love him even more, right? They hate him even more. They already hated him, and now these dreams do not help his cause. They hate him even more. So the dream, if you were Joseph, how would you feel after receiving these dreams? Any thoughts there? How do you?
Still pretty sick.
You feel what?
Still pretty sick.
You'd feel pretty sick?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, what do you think? How long do you think Joseph thought the dream would come? Like he has this dream from God, right? That's what he believes is going to happen. How long do you think he thought this would take to come to fruition? Tomorrow, yeah. If you received that dream, you were going to be in charge and your little brothers were going to rule, like bow to you. How fast would you want that dream to come? Tomorrow, yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, yeah. All right. Did it come the next day? Not really, okay. All right, the pit and the sail. The pit and the sail. Who had the pit? You guys had the pit. All right, so the background for the pit is that Joseph's brothers, because of this dream, among other things, they plot to kill him. They throw him into a pit, Reuben, one of the brothers, persuades them not to kill him. But you know it's a better idea than killing your brother? Selling him, trafficking him. So they traffic him. Great family, right? This is where our Bible comes from, people. This is like, if you think your family's jacked up, enter the Old Testament. So they throw Joseph into this well. Joseph's suffering. Then we see that he's sold to the Midianite, Ishmaelite traders. He's taken to Egypt as a slave. So what do you think is going through Joseph's mind at the bottom of the pit, the bottom of the well? Where are you, God? Yeah. This is a great dream. What do you think? Any other thoughts on that? Do you think Joseph's questioning his brothers, himself, or God? All three? I'd certainly be questioning my brothers. I knew I wasn't liked, but I didn't know I was this unliked. That would be pretty shocking. Would you question God, though? Would that be normal? It's kind of backwards, isn't it? God gave me this dream. The dream had to be vivid enough for him to not only remember it. That's hard enough, as you know. I have dreams all the time. I never remember. But he's remembering it, tells his brothers. He's got to have this sense of confidence. Like, isn't this great? God's given me this dream. And now he's at the bottom of a pit, kind of going, what did I have to eat before I went to sleep that night? Something's off with his dream, right? All right, Potiphar's house. Who has that one? You guys? All right. So the background of Potiphar's house is that he's sold to Potiphar, who is a Egyptian leadership, we'll say. And it says throughout this time that he's in Potiphar's house, the Lord was with Joseph. The Lord was with Joseph. That's a repeated phrase in this passage. Joseph works super diligently while he's in slavery. Potiphar notices God's blessing on Joseph's life, and Joseph rises from just a slave to the household manager. How much access is he given as a household manager, if you know the story? All the way up. He almost had unfiltered access to whatever he needed to do. And everything that Joseph touches in this season prospers. That's what we picture, okay? So the questions are, he's succeeding as a slave, but he's still a slave. Do you think he sees this as progress, or do you think he sees this as disappointment? Disappointment. Still far shy of the dream, right? Yeah, he's still a slave. All right. Do you think Joseph explains God's promise to himself, or how do you think he explains it to himself while serving in Potiphar's house? What do you think he's thinking about this dream?
Come on, God.
Come on.
Hurry up.
Do you think he still believes in it? Or do you think he's given up on it?
I don't know if
Yeah.
we had a woman in the house that could lie like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
How about you? This is the dream. You believed it enough to tell your family about it. That dream's cost you a lot at this point,
Yeah.
right? And now you're in Potiphar's house. What would you be telling yourself about the dream?
Questions.
Big questions. Stupid mouth. Why did I have to talk about my dream? Would you think the dream's still on? Would you doubt it?
No.
You wouldn't doubt it? Yeah. These are real questions, right? Because Joseph emerges at the end. We know the story, but in real time, you're like,
Holy moly.
I don't know if I believe this anymore. Truly, because this is not how I remember the dream going down. All right, who's got the next one? That is the false accusation. Who's at that table? Anybody? No one? You did?
We have.
Okay. All right, so the false accusation. So while Joseph's prospering in Potiphar's house, it also says, in one of the passages, Joseph was well-built and handsome. Okay? Hunk of burning love. Okay, ladies? He had it going on. All right? And Potiphar's wife notices, and she repeatedly tries to tempt Joseph to sleep with her. He refuses, and he flees temptation. You remember how he fled? She grabbed him by his robe or some sort, and he got out of the building, and guess what she's holding? His jacket. And so she uses that jacket to say what? He assaulted me, and here's proof. It was back before DNA evidence, right? And they haven't any cameras, so it's whose word against Joseph's? Potiphar's wife. Potiphar's wife is up here in status, and what's Joseph still? Slave. So who are you going to believe? The wife, right? Not going to doubt her word. So Potiphar sends him to prison, and in prison How do you think Joseph felt when he did the right thing and it resulted in a prison sentence for him? What do you think?
We all agree that he was very angry
Angry? At who?
at God
Okay.
and at Potiphar, at the wife.
His wife? Yeah. Probably angry at everything.
Isn't anybody going to come to my defense?
Yeah. Okay, that's good. What would be harder, the prison sentence itself or knowing you were innocent? That'd be harder? Yeah. Prison's not a great place, right? Not an easy spot, right? But he's innocent. He knows he's innocent. But no one believes he's innocent. I mean, can you imagine the tide of public opinion? Do you think word got out? Why is Joseph in here? I mean, everybody in jail is innocent, right? You ask any inmate, they'll tell you, I was a victim. But Joseph truly was a victim in this. But that'd be tough, right? The public opinion, he's accused of this. He's in jail for it. Because you wouldn't be in jail unless you did it, right? That's kind of how the thought process is. All right. So he's in prison. Who's got the forgotten in prison scene? Okay. So let me give you the background of that. He's forgotten in prison. So while he's in prison, he has this really unique opportunity, is that he hears about these dreams that other people are having. Let's just stop for real quick. Remember, he had a dream, and he interpreted it, and where did it end him? So now someone else has a dream, and they're like, hey, Joseph, what do you think about this? What do you think, Joseph? I mean, is he the kind of the good track record of interpreting dreams? I don't know. Do you think Joseph might have a little PTSD going, I don't know. I'm not doing so hot. I'm 0 for 1 on my dreams there. So he interprets a dream for Pharaoh has 2 people in jail. Pharaoh's cup holder, cup bearer, and Pharaoh's baker. Are these trusted positions? Very, right? Because obviously back then, a great way to take out an emperor or a king is through poison. So if you had someone who's a cupbearer or a baker, someone who has access to what the king would eat. So these 2 end up in jail, and they both have a dream. They go to Joseph saying, can you interpret the dream? And Joseph interprets both dreams correctly. Okay, both dreams come true. And as the cupbearer is leaving prison, I mean, they've spent some time together, right? He just interpreted a dream that in a sense, helped the cupbearer get out of jail. And he says, hey, as you're leaving, remember me. Like when you get back into status again, back into people who can help, remember me. I just did you a solid in jail. Like, remember me, right? And so the cupbearer gets restored, and the cupbearer completely forgets about Joseph. Okay? So now, go back to that. When the cupbearer leaves prison for that group, what do you think Joseph expects to happen next? Yeah. Man, I got a buddy. He's a cupbearer. We were tight. He gave me some recipes. I gave him a dream. He's going to remember me, right? And day 1 happens. Day 2 happens. Week 1, week 2. Nothing's going on. What do you think he's thinking? Like, dude, seriously? You forgot me? Okay. How disappointed do you think Joseph is when days turns into weeks and weeks turns into months? Very. What do you think is lower, being in the pit or being crushed with this kind of disappointment? Yeah, you're crushed, right? I mean, you're just like, I can't believe that this is happening, right? All right, let's go to God's timing. God's timing. That you had 1 verse. Who had that? Who's that group? Yeah, I knew you couldn't handle more than 1 verse. I gave you 1 verse. What was the verse? Do you remember? It was. I'll summarize for you. After 2 years. 2 years. 700 some days in jail. Remember when Joseph, he was accused of what? Assault. How long do you think Joseph's sentence was? Probably for life. Yeah, they didn't have like juries and due process and all the things like that. He probably was in there for life. And he probably had a feeling, I'm never getting out, right? This is why it makes the cupbearer scene even more crushing, because he had a shot. Like he at least thought he had a shot at maybe being helped here. So 2 full years pass. What do you think is harder, being in prison or waiting in prison with no explanation? What do you think? The waiting? Waiting's tough, isn't it? What do you think Joseph believes about God after 2 more years pass without any change?
I think he still had faith, but
Okay.
I think he was discouraged.
Discouraged, yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, it's one thing if you have a dream and you're out and about in real life, right? And it just hasn't happened yet. But if you have this kind of dream where your brothers are going to bow to you and you're going to be in this position of authority and you now have a life sentence and you're in prison, how would you think this is going to change? I mean,
I would think that's not a dream. I didn't hear it. I didn't have it.
you start doubting what you heard. Yeah. It would make sense, right? Yeah, I think so. All right. Exaltation. Who has that part? That passage. That's you guys back there? Okay, good. So give me an update. So Pharaoh himself has some troubling dreams, right? And the cupbearer hears about Pharaoh's dreams and suddenly does what? Oh my gosh. Did you ever do that? I do this a lot. My wife will send me out to like Food Line to get something, and I'll get like the whole list. I'm super proud. I get home, she's like, "Do you have the flour?" Oh my gosh, I've got the flour. Like, I told her, that's the cupbearer. Oh my gosh, Joseph. I totally forgot about Joseph. 2 years later goes by, forgets about Joseph. So the cupbearer remembers Joseph. Joseph, he says, you got to talk to Joseph. He's in prison. He interprets Pharaoh's dreams. Joseph credits God for the dream. So what does that reveal? He's still tied. There's still connection to God, right? Pharaoh promotes Joseph, gets out of jail, and all of a sudden he goes from slave to second in command. Okay, so what emotions do you think Joseph experiences when he's suddenly brought before Pharaoh? He's not out yet. Like, he's kind of in chains, but he's before Pharaoh. What do you think he's thinking? What do you guys think?
At last.
At last. Yeah, might it give you hope that there's some movement, right? In this case, yeah. Do you think Joseph saw God's hand in the moment or only later looking back? In the moment. You start to kind of see it, yeah. All right, then lastly, Joseph's conclusion. Who has that part? You guys back there? Okay, great. So give you some update. Jacob dies. The brothers fear revenge because the brothers have not paid the piper, right? Remember what they told their dad? They sold him into slavery, or they put him in a pit. Then they sold him into slavery. Well, what was the story they told their dad? He was killed by an animal, right? So that's what Jacob believed for that season. The brothers fear revenge. They get before Joseph because the famine brought him back. It's an awesome story. I'm really don't have time to do it justice in this setting, but read it. It's a really fabulous story. Joseph gets in front of his brothers. They don't recognize Joseph because they haven't seen Joseph in how long? Years. I'll tell you how long in a minute. Years. So Joseph's changed how he looks. Remember, he was 17. So have you ever seen that? I see it all the time with teenagers. You know the kid is a teenager, and then you come back and you're like, dude, you're like a man. What happened to you? You know? So Joseph reveals how he understands the entire story, and he says this thing, what you intended for harm, God meant it for good. Okay? So what had to happen in Joseph's heart for him to say, you intended to harm, God meant it for good? What do you think? Forgiveness? What do you guys think back there? You guys talked about it.
We said, a lot has happened, but humility, peace.
Humility? Okay, yep.
Yeah, radical acceptance.
So why do you think Joseph chose forgiveness instead of revenge? I mean, he's in the perfect position for justice to be served. Why did he? He knew what? God was using him. Yeah. Yeah. So, you don't know how long Joseph went from pit to prince? 13 years. 13 years. Yeah. What happens in 13 years? A lot, right? Think about just in your life in the last 13 years, what's happened between 13 years ago and now. A lot's changed, right? For all of us, really. That's how it works. So we go back to Revelation chapter 6. Who's got that? What was the question the martyrs asked? How long? How long? Want to hear the response? I didn't include it. It ends in verse 10. In verse 11, God actually gives the response. Then each of them were given a white robe, and they were told, wait a little longer. How's that feel? They got a white robe. That's good, right? But they were asking how long, and they were told, wait a little longer. So for us, we live in a world, because remember, they're in heaven, but where's the justice being delayed? It's here. The problem is not heaven. They're in heaven, but the problem is where? It's here. There's the delayed justice problem we have. Did you see that in our world? If you turn on the news, you see it all the time, right? And they're asking the question, how long? We probably ask the same question, how long? How long? And the response is a little longer. Just wait a little longer. So I tell you all that to say that in this series, you are not alone. If you are in a season where God's running late, you're not alone. And I hope that encourages you. So let me pray for us. God, we're grateful for this story of Joseph and how there's so much in it that can apply to us. And we, if we're honest, ask the same question, how long? How long? A little longer. So we trust you with a little longer. In your name we pray. Amen. God bless y'all. Thank you.